Hi guys, we're going to get seated again so we could do the last session. Thanks for sticking with us all this time. We got just one more piece of information to share out. We want to do a wrap up so we're clear on where we're headed, I hope.
I will say one of the benefits for staying to the bitter end, and this is really Pastor John's suggestion, we do have a few Sweetie Center t-shirts over on that table. They're on the larger sides, but take one. They're not enough for everybody, but take one if you want. When you're leaving, you might have seen the food poster on the back. You may not recognize it. It's a 1917 World War I poster that I think Pennsylvania, their ag department, came up with. So, but the message still resonates today. All right, Director Killian and I have a few wrap-up remarks. I'm going to pass it over to him first, and then we'll have a couple people on stage send us off with some thank yous and such.
Thank you very much. And again, we want to thank all of you for participating in this event. This has really grown into something awesome, and we appreciate your attendance today. Tell you a quick story, and then I'm going to show you a video. When I was director of the Department of Revenue, I was the chief tax collector for Arizona. Everybody treated me like I had leprosy, man. Nobody wanted to talk to me. But we had about 1,000 employees, and they were pretty low on the pay scale for the state. And there were a number of occasions when we had employees who would show up in my office that didn't have food to feed their families. And we'd run down to the local grocery store and get them some food. So we came up with the idea of a director's pantry. And we put it down in the basement of the building. Not only did we have canned goods, but we had clothing and toys and things like that. And because there was a need. And we tried to take care of our people. But it was amazing to me that the state paid people full time. They worked for the state, and still they were getting welfare. Just was beyond belief, and complained a lot about that. And to some degree, we still experience some of that in state government today, and I'm hopeful that this session will be able to see some changes in that. Now I'm going to take my director's hat off for a second. I'm going to talk to you as a farmer rancher. Okay? My family's been in agriculture in Arizona for over 100 years. And seen the ups and downs. We've ranched in Arizona, New Mexico, in Colorado, in Kentucky, and California. And now we're all consolidated back in Arizona. And to some degree, we're reducing our operations. But I've seen it from the large scale, when you have a 175,000 acre ranch, okay, to a small scale. And let me make it very clear, as far as the gospel according to Mark is concerned, all agriculture is good. It's all good. So those who would like to divide us, don't want to talk, well, I'll talk to you, just leave me alone, okay? Because we all play a part in the feeding of the world. And I was just talking to my shirt-tail relatives. Where'd the Killians go? There they are, right over there. Okay, so they've got a small little garden, and they want to expand it. And they talked about the concept of small farms, 3-acre, doing things like that. That's awesome. That's all part of it. To the people I was dealing with in Yuma the other day that have thousands and thousands of acres of lettuce, they all play a role. So, to show you that I do have a small mind, figuratively, and my wife tells me that all the time, but anyway, I tried to figure out what I could do to help small farmers who particularly want to be in the protein business, okay, the egg business. So this video I'm going to show you, we did because we tried an experiment at the farm. It's called Director Killian's Chicken Tractor. Have any of you heard of chicken tractors? Okay. If you haven't, this is the most exciting event you've had in your life. Okay. And when this is over, then I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So if you'll roll the chicken show, we'll go from there. And you don't see these very often. You see a lot of these chicken tractors in the Midwest. But if a person has a large pasture, they can build one of these chicken tractors, and you house your hens in it at night, and then you open the door in the morning, and they go out, and they stay in this cell grazing system. And this net is an electrified fence to keep the foxes and coyotes out and the chickens in. So if you see the wheels, and what we do is about every week we move it to the next section. Now we're almost to the end here, so in about a week we'll go back down at that end and start all over again and come back. And what you're getting is you're getting the chicken manure on the pasture, which helps it and increases the nitrogen in the ground, and it helps the grass to grow. This pasture has water grass and coastal Bermuda. Come on out, let's go, everybody out. Come on, girl. Now there's several different breeds of chickens in here, and the red or brown ones are called Isa Brown, and they're a hybrid cross chicken that lays a nice big premium brown egg. They're very docile, very calm. That's one of our hens. It's okay, sis. It's all right. It's all right. Aren't you? Yeah, I know. You're just the best, aren't you? All right, let's put you down. Let's put you down, sis. What do you girls think, huh? But most of your pasture-raised eggs today are hens that are these, what they call the Isa Browns, the reddish brown ones. And so so all day long they just hang out, and when it's hot, and they go underneath the building under the tractor, and then they go under the tent. They eat over here. So if you come over here, you can kind of see inside the actual chicken house. So at night they roost over to the right, and then we've got the supplemental feeders in there. Best nest box, and the reason it's a great nest box is because when the hen lays her eggs, they all roll to the front, and so they stay clean. The hens go in here, and it's got a padded nest area, and they just sit in there, and the eggs roll forward. They're young hens right now, so we're getting mostly medium to a few large eggs. And in another month or so, most of the eggs will be large to extra large. So I've got to come out here and collect these eggs this morning. Now, the other thing the chicken scientists have found out, hens like to lay their eggs in privacy. And for some reason, they like the red color. And so a hen will go in behind here, and basically she hides in here to lay her eggs. So if you go into all the big commercial egg-laying operations, you'll find that the nest boxes all have a red curtain where the hens can go in and do their own thing. And they have chicken psychologists that study the behavior of chickens. And this is one of the things that they have learned. So you've seen the chicken tractor. What we did is we took this hog wire and we just bowed it into the frame, which makes for a real nice hen house. It's easy to move. And then we put the siding over the top, so when it rains or the wind blows, it stays off. So people say, how do you train the chickens to go into the hen house every night? Well,
when they're young pullets, we put them in the building and we shut the door, and we raise them in there for about 2 weeks. So they're used to being in there, and then we bring them out in pasture and open the door and let them out, and they just automatically go back in there every night. And when it starts to get dark, they look for protection, and this is a natural place for them to go, and they just go in there, and I come in here after dark and shut the door, and that way the foxes and the coyotes can't get to them. Chickens naturally like to scratch, and so we'll put some grain out here every once in a while for them to scratch, but they scratch and eat the bugs, eat the fly larvae, and they'll dig these little holes, and then they scratch the dirt up into their feathers and stuff, and that helps keep the lice and other pests out of their feathers. And so they do their thing all day long. Then they go lay their egg and then continue on doing what they're doing. So a lot of people, they love eggs, and what they need to understand, eggs are good for you. They're healthy. They have lots of protein, all kinds of vitamins, carotene, vitamin A and B. The old myth that eggs are bad for you or raise your cholesterol or hurt your heart is just false, and the scientists have recognized that. Just like they said with beef back in the 60s, don't eat beef because it's bad for you. Well, now all the medical scientists have said you need to eat beef, you need to eat eggs, they're healthy, and pasture eggs are part of a healthy diet for people. And but no matter where you get your eggs, no matter how the chickens are raised, eggs are good for you. You need to eat them. They're just very important for your healthy diet, particularly as you get older. It sustains brain health and cognitive, and so we encourage people to eat eggs. So one of the big debates today is traditional housed chickens and what they call enriched colony cages, cage-free, pasture-raised, organic, and there's a lot of misnomers out there, and a lot of the radicals say, well, the chickens have to be raised in a pasture environment for the eggs to be healthy, and that's not necessarily true. The modern chicken operations, chicken health is number one on their agenda, and the feed they feed their chickens and the things they do with their chickens is all about humane treatment and how they operate, and so I have no complaints with our larger chicken operations. They do a great service, they feed millions of people, and they're healthy products. This kind of operation is more for the small urban farmers who want to do things in an urban setting where they don't have a lot of land and don't have a lot of money, but can enjoy raising a product to give to their neighbors and friends. The thing you have to remember is that if you're going to raise a lot of eggs, you need to be inspected by the state, and you need to have a permit from the State Department of Agriculture. And so if you want to do a project like this, you just need to call our office and make sure that you're in compliance with all the rules.
So you didn't know today you were going to come and learn about chickens, and that the director is he's a chicken crazy type of guy. Love chickens. The one thing I learned about having all those chickens, I had 200 hens, is they lay a lot of eggs. And what do you have to do with eggs? You have to clean them. And so I was coming home from work at the department, and after I took care of all my dogs, then I started on the chickens. And I have a room back there behind my house where I fixed it up to wash eggs. That's a lot of eggs to wash. And I was doing it all by hand. And so I finally got a little machine to clean the eggs that sped it up a little bit. And after about a year of that, I decided, well, how can I make this easier? I've got grandkids. And about that time, COVID hit, and so the grandkids couldn't go to school, so I worked out a deal with their mom and dad that I could get them to wash my eggs. And so after about 8 months of that, my grandkids decided they didn't want to be farmers anymore, so that's another story. But the reason I show that to you is that there's all kinds of cool ideas out there. How I learned about this was I was watching on RFD TV, and they were doing a special on small farmers in urban areas. And there was this farmer that had built these chicken tractors. I said, well, I think we could do that. And so the department can be a resource for any of you. And if you've got ideas out there or you need help, we're happy to help you any way we can. For our small urban farmers, there's lots of things that we can do to help. A lot of exciting things. I will tell you that people stood in line to buy our eggs. My dad, who's 96, said they were the best eggs he ever ate. And I said, well, Dad, all they do is eat grass and chicken feed. He said, I don't know what you're doing, but they're awesome. I said, well, maybe it was the molasses that I was putting in the feed. I don't know. But so food is a cultural thing. How many of you here have a family tradition around food? Okay? Food is a driving factor in our social lives. For our family, Christmas Eve, we do a Mexican barbecue. Okay? On New Year's, we have chop suey, or New Year's Day. My great uncle was a cook on a battleship in World War I, and he got this recipe for chop suey. He brought it home to the family, and the whole family does that now. Part of my family that came from Germany, they were into sauerkraut. I hate sauerkraut. Don't tell my family I said that, but anyway. But they fix sauerkraut. It's part of what we do. So food is pretty important. All of us play a role in that, in making sure people have enough food to eat, enough food that they can have a family tradition of having good food. That's critical. Again, I want to thank you for your efforts that you're doing in your communities. It is saving people's lives. It's building brain power. And we appreciate all that you do. We appreciate your willingness to be here and take time out of your busy schedule to come to the greatest university in America and participate in this food conference. U of A and NAU, you're pretty close. Pretty close. But with that, again, thank you so very much for being here. And I'm now going to turn it over to our friends at ASU who sponsored this and helped this. Want to thank again the Food and Ag Committee from our department and all their efforts. Appreciate that very much. And now oh my gosh, I took too long. So I'm going to exit the stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. State politician, rancher, chicken farmer. Anyhow, you do it all, buddy. We love you. All right, I want to just wrap up with a few stories because I always know Director Killian has great stories. Sometimes I can geek out on like factoids and data, so I'll try to be a little bit more personable. So my first story. I remember when I was deputy secretary and I had to go up before a committee in the House, and the chair of the committee was known to be pretty tough questioner. I was a little anxious about it. And he's a Republican, I was a Democrat, I'm anxious. And his big thing that he wanted to talk about was about hunger in Africa. And he was just really concerned about nutrition security. And it just reminds me of in the olden days when George McGovern and Bob Dole got together and did really important work on nutrition, food security, that the issues that have really dominated our discussions over the last couple days are bipartisan issues. That everybody can get around the table and say, this is critically important, we have to solve that. So, maybe it's the last bastion of bipartisanship in this country, I don't know, but let's take advantage of that. Our undersecretary today said, thank you, Kathleen, you were a trailblazer as deputy secretary. Well, you never know how you're a trailblazer. When I was AMS administrator, when I was younger, and we had to get out the final rule for organic, I had just had a baby. The first call I got when I was in the hospital was by my deputy, and I thought he was calling to say congratulations, and it was like, congratulations, when can you get back here? And I had a brand new baby. I had a 1.5-year-old, and so as well. And so I actually went to USDA, and I brought my baby back with me to work. I breastfed in the office. I put the baby in the carriage, and I went up and down the bumpy tile floors, going back and forth. And it was what I had to do to get it done because we were at the end of the administration, the very end of the administration. I had no time for maternity leave. And years later, I talked to a person who was an administrator of another part of AMS, and he said to me, you know, that was probably the most impactful thing you'll ever do in your career, that it reverberated throughout the entire department, that a woman would bring her baby to work like that. Now that, it ages me, I get that. But I see a lot of trailblazers in this room who look different, who act different. We have a lot of different cultures here, a lot of different ways of life, and I think that we all need to think about diversity and how we make sure that when we come to a gathering and we come up with our plans about our community and our policy priorities, that we have full diversity at the table. And I think we've done that at this conference, and I think it's pretty exciting. Another story. We have a lot more power than we give ourselves credit for. And I think about, also when I was deputy, how everybody really wanted to focus on the school lunch program and getting the feds to buy more locally produced food. A great, great goal, and it's something that I worked really hard on. But the reality is that about 80% of those food purchasing decisions are made at the district level. And sometimes we get caught up in all of the, I get all caught up in what's going on in Washington and all of this sort of stuff, and sometimes forget about what I can do right in the midst of the world that I exist in day to day. Oh, another story. When I was working on that Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative, one of the people down in the bowels of the bureaucracy raised the point that the Farm Service Agency had this farm storage loan program. And the problem was none of the diversified small-scale growers could pencil out for the loan because the form only had 4 lines for you to put down your vegetables, and many of the diversified farmers might be growing as many as 20 different vegetables. And they couldn't get the loan because of the stupid form. I still find that story so shocking, but sometimes there are a lot of unintentional mistakes, biases, misunderstandings, and I think we just have to work really hard to call those out. We also put together the compass, the local food compass, and we were trying to look at gaps and synergies in all these different monies that government goes out, and we still have so many silos to break. One of my colleagues here in the audience said, we're talking about water and challenges there, and we're watching this incredible urban growth in Maricopa County, and how is the water going to get to the farmers if we're constantly growing huge apartment buildings and complexes? Makes me think about how do we find ways to hold a mirror up to our public officials and to ourselves about what we're doing so the right hand and the left hand can be coordinated. When I was working with Michelle Obama, I mentioned Let's Move yesterday as I started to dance on stage. Sorry to scare you. But I remember early on in the administration, when we were thinking about what we would do on nutrition security, there was great concern that we couldn't do things around fruits and vegetables because they just cost too much. And being a bit of a nerd, I brought out a lot of data that showed that fruits and vegetables actually don't, on a per cup equivalent, cost too much. You have to eat the right fruits and vegetables during the right seasons, but you can do it even on a SNAP budget, but it's really hard, and there are massive issues around food access. I'm not making light of the challenges, but it just reminds me that here in Arizona, what I have learned is that we have great academic institutions. And again, I know Tom Vilsack talked about ASU, and Director Killian and I have a little love for ASU, but I've got incredible colleagues at U of A, at Prescott, at NAU, and other places across the state. And so there are universities to partner with on the work that you do. We really want to co-produce knowledge, co-produce solutions with you. And then, my last story. Yesterday, I was in the breakout session on the patio. I wanted to go to all of them, and I have to admit, part of wanting to go to the patio breakout session was because it was on the patio. But it was the one on indigenous food, and I didn't realize this issue about having an EIN, that you can't access any of these FSA programs or any kind of loans, any of this stuff, without an employment identification number, which is tied to your physical address. And I thought to myself, I have worked in food and agriculture policy for my entire career, and yesterday I learned something new. I should be embarrassed, perhaps, to stand up and admit that to all of you. Suzanne will probably clobber me on the ride home. She's like, I probably told you that 20 times, Kathleen, and maybe she did. But yesterday it was just like a blunt instrument on my head, and it just reminds me that we all have to be seeking out new information, seeking out new conversations. I learned so much in that session, and now as someone who aspires to be a certain kind of puzzle master, I want to figure out how I can work on that solution. So here's my bottom line from my stories. No divide is too great. We all need to trailblaze. Communities have power, we have power. Be a puzzle master, silo bust, seek the technical help you may need, always learn something new. And I'll close being inspired by Pastor John and his colleague who came such a great distance to be with us here today. I will tell you, back when I was going to church as a young person, my favorite part, I was raised Catholic, was when the priest would say, let us offer each other the sign of peace. And you turn to your people in the pews this way and that way, and you would just, you would shake hands, and you would say, peace be with you. And so I just want to say to you, we have a room full of incredible people here today. I have been so impressed by the presentations over the last 2 days. I've been so impressed by your passion and your energy. And this 2-day summit is not the end, it's the beginning. And I'm really excited about my new home state of Arizona and working with all of you to make this the A+ state. So those are my thoughts, and I will turn it over to my colleagues. Thank you.
Wrap up. All right. I owe you a little bit of information because I didn't have it yesterday. Maybe some of you saw it, but I just wanted you to know about yesterday's lunch. We told you it was going to be sustainably sourced, and locally sourced. So it's Tipperary beans from Arona Farms. Yay. I had that in my salad. The bread was from Strictly Scratched here in Phoenix. It's about 12 miles away. The olive oils was from Queen Creek Olive Mill. The kale was from Blue Sky Organic Farms. The oranges were from Whitfield Nursery. Some of the cheeses were from the Arizona Farm Cheese Company in Tempe, and microgreens from Arizona Microgreens in Central Phoenix. So yay, that was a good thing that we could do. And I know it takes effort when you're trying to do some of this locally sourcing, but I think if you ask, people are trying to meet the challenge. I'm also going to just say a couple of things about the team that's here. I mean, I got a lot of credit for helping, but I have a team that has been phenomenal. So Colleen and Christina in the back have been my right hands. Charla as well, they've done all the operational and design work that we've enjoyed. Other Sweetie staff, Mauricio, Gina, have been helpful. We've had student workers to try to help guide people around. I know this is a massive stadium, and we've all gotten lost a few times. There's a knowledge enterprise team that's also ASU. Brandon and his team, Dorinda, they've put a lot of work in this. There's a Sun Devils Stadiums lead, Stacy, who's helped us meet all these challenges of getting the stadium to work for this event. And then I have to say, the Video West team has just made this such a professional looking show, and I can't wait to see it live streamed. We'll have it recording, and we'll send out the links to everybody, because I feel like we all have to stay connected, and this is going to be one way we can do that. We have your emails. Make sure that we do if you registered, and we'll send the links out to you. And now I'm going to pass it over to you.
Yeah, so I want to thank my fellow FAPAC members for helping to create the summit. I particularly want to give a shout out to Michelle for her incredible effort and work as a liaison with the Department of Agriculture. I would like to thank you very much, Director Killian, for starting FAPAC and starting us on this journey a number of years ago. And I feel that we have an opportunity here to continue to grow this event and bring together all of our diversity in Arizona. I also want to thank our many partners in this room and our many funders. We've been showing you slides of them, so I'm not going to go over the names again, but I want to give a heartfelt thank you to all of them. I want to give another shout out to Dean Brennan, who helped create the program. Thank you, Dean. And let us continue, let us grow, and let us find what the new agriculture is that we're creating here in Arizona, because I think we could lead in many ways, not just for our communities in Arizona, but for everyone in the U.S. I think our ability to work together and to talk to one another is phenomenal, and let us continue that. Thank you very much for hosting this effort.
Safe travels, everybody.